What's up, guys? Welcome back to Free Will. This is Tony Scardino. Today, we are going to get into dimensions. I've talked about this before. I've constantly made references previously to the 3D, 5D. I've made references to dimensions, and I never really got into it. So, this week, we're going to go over the 9 dimensions. There are an infinite amount of dimensions, but we are going to go over 9 because the first 9 are ones that we can relate to in terms of creation. I do want to give a little shout out to Matthias De Stefano. He is someone I look up to when it comes to doing my research, especially in terms of dimensions. So yeah, if you want to look more into it, shout out to him. Highly recommend looking into him. So yeah, let's get into it. We're going to get a little science-y here. So bear with me. Let's just keep in memory. Energy beings, frequencies, vibrations. All right. So dimension. The word dimension is to mention measurements. So dimension means 2 measurements, 2 ways to measure one. Think of it as this way: 2 ways to perceive the same thing. Different points of view from which you can perceive something. So let's take a sphere, 360 degrees. There are 360 different dimensions, 360 points of view to the sphere. It's good to mention that we shouldn't confuse dimensions with realms. Realms are more Christian, biblical, angelic, where dimensions are different points of view of the same reality. We're going to start with the first one, first dimension, unity. There's no this or that, no two, it's just one. We all come from unity. And in order for unity to exist, the universe had to create polarity. This now creates 2, the second dimension. So we need to have separation in order to understand what unity even is. And with that, with polarity, you have now 2 things moving. And when 2 things move, they create a third. They create the third dimension. This is because the 2 movements create aspect, which is access between the 2. Now we're in the third dimension. This is the one that we perceive. This is 3 points of view. We have height, width, length, past, present, future. 3 points of view. Now when you have 3 things moving, this creates 4. Fourth dimension. Fourth dimension is time. Timelessness, eternity, the timelessness. There's no time, no space. This is the dream state. We're not designed to live in the fourth, but there's times where we perceive our reality in the fourth dimension, okay? This timelessness generates energy, generates light. This now enters into the 5th dimension. The 5th dimension is the expansion of the 3rd and the 4th. So in the 5th dimension, this is when you start to understand creation. You cannot live in the 5th dimension if you don't enjoy the 3rd and the 4th. And this is where I bring in concepts of consciousness moving into 5D, because this is the dimension of enlightenment, understanding creation. This is where you shine from within. And you have to shine from the 3rd to understand every possibility you have with the 4th to achieve the 5th. Being in the 3rd and the 5th dimension, when we talk about the shift from 3D to 5D, we perceive the 3rd dimension. We are now, as a consciousness, starting to perceive the 5th dimension. This is now just amplifying. So when I say that the vibrations on Earth, the frequencies of the Earth are raising, our energy with that is amplifying as well. We're starting to see a shift in a higher consciousness, in understanding creation. And from the 5th, that shape can now switch its position. This now goes into the 6th dimension. The 6th dimension is the creator itself, acting as the creator. This is when you take feelings and ideas and you start manifesting. But this is also where distortion comes in. Because in order to create something new, you have to break down the original. So this is distortion and creation. So now with the sixth, you can transcend, you can manifest into a completely different reality. This is where you create your own reality. This is the seventh dimension. The seventh dimension is creation, is enlightenment. It's when you know you can do something with this, when you feel like you are able to be. In the seventh dimension is where Samael exists, Satan, because what Satan did was he went from the seventh dimension to the sixth. And when he did this, this was the seraphim that enabled creation. This is why Satan was seen as the beautiful light, the one that carried light from within. He was the light bearer. You must follow the path to darkness in order to create, and then follow back to the seventh in order to enlighten. So you're sitting here and you're like, okay, Tony, where are you going with this? Your seventh dimension, Lucifer creating this is... Again, we've mentioned that the Bible is a metaphor. Lucifer, the light bearer, there's a reason why they call him that, is because in order to create, darkness needed to allow the light. So in terms, separate. So now we're looking evil and good, dark and light. After the seventh dimension, creation, you now create all possibility. This is the eighth dimension. Infinite. 8. Infinite. The eighth dimension is the dream state. Anything can happen here. Infinite amount of possibilities. So when you're thinking in your head and you're creating a story in your head and you're daydreaming about something or something happening or someone, this is the eighth dimension. You're perceiving reality in a dream state. This is what happens also when you dream. After all possibilities, it all comes back to the divine, the essence, very idea on why everything exists, and that is the ninth dimension. This is full awareness. This is the dimension that we perceive that we are God. It's, I know I am. And the only thing that leads back to one is from 9. So with the very idea that everything exists, you create unity once again. So it goes from 9 back to 1. In the ninth dimension, we have the cube. When you expand the cube, you create the tetrahedron. We're talking in shapes. Then the hexahedron, to the octahedron, to the dodecahedron, to the isosahedron. What I just listed are the 5 platonic solids. These are the main platonic solids that basically generates everything in our reality. So when we're talking in terms of dimensions and mathematics and how this all works, energy and matter and shapes, the 5 platonic solids lie in the 9th dimension. And this is why the first 9 dimensions relate to creation. After that, there's an infinite amount of possibilities, infinite amount of dimensions, but this is unique in itself because the 9th dimension is what creates everything on this planet in our reality. 5 platonic solids. So now when I say we have this movement from the 3D to the 5D, there's a little bit of more understanding. It is how we perceive our reality. You can go from each dimension to the other at any given time or day. It is how you perceive reality. Different people are in different dimensions, their state of perceiving things. And this operates through the energy, through the particles. We start with 1, unity, polarity, 3 points of view, timelessness, awareness, amplifying, manifestation, creation, infinite, all possibilities, back to unity. Back to unity. So when I was doing this research, and I was like, this is so sick, 9 dimensions. I can't help but think to myself, well, that's interesting. We talked about numerology 2 weeks back, and it's the 9 numbers. And then we look here, the 9 dimensions. So now we have the 9 numerology numbers, the father, the mother, the child, work, intimacy, family, genius, infinite, and I am. So you look at how that connects, you know what I mean? And you can't but see somewhat of a similar connection here. The numbers are connecting to the dimensions. We're seeing this common theme of 9, of creation. And I will admit, after digging more into the dimensions, that there's nothing wrong with being in any dimension. It's, again, the way you're perceiving reality. There's nothing wrong with how one person perceives a reality at a certain time, a certain way. We're all doing it simultaneously together because we're all one. We're all reflecting on each other. We're all energy mirroring off each other, creating these realities through these dimensions with our consciousness. It is sick. Now, let's go a little bit into why our perspectives are the way they are in these dimensions. We have to recognize that human beings are mammals. So we inherently have a perspective of a mammal. So a mammal has a mother and a father. You are in the mother's womb for 9 months. After 9 months, you are then expecting to see the light, and you are expecting to see the father, right? The father there. And when I say this is a mammal perspective, minerals don't have this type of perspective. They don't have a mother and a father, so they don't experience life in the way we perceive it. In Latin, mother means matrix, other means patar, path. So mammals were trapped inside of the womb, matrix. You can consider this the mother's love. And we need the father to show us the path. This is why we have Mother Earth and the Father being God. One rules, one loves. So when you look at a dimension's perspective when it comes to darkness, back in the day, way back in the day, God to them was light. Because in biology, mammals followed the light. Mammals followed the light, and when it became dark, they knew they could get hurt. So during the day, we were brave. During the night, we were scared. This is the good and evil illusion that we've created in our heads that nature doesn't have. They see it still strictly biology, darkness and light. Us human beings having the intelligence and free will and the dimensions of different perspectives, we create these illusions. We create these structures of good and bad. That's why even in biblical terms, when they say you're blind, you're not with God, they're really saying, like, you're blind. The metaphor to that is you cannot see the light. So I know I make a lot of biblical references, but we're seeing the metaphors to these play out within the sciences. And all it comes down to is tuning your frequency. How do you want to tune your frequency, your energy body, in what perspective of what your reality is? And this definitely goes into the conversation of free will. Because destiny is the free will of the higher self. So we're finding our higher self through these shifts in these dimensions as well. You don't have to be trapped in the womb. You have a path. It's the way we perceive the universe, and that's how we're creating it. So we're going to end it off there this week. We're going to get into some more good and evil talk next time. As always, you can find me on all platforms at official Tony Scardino. Please like, rate, subscribe, comment, and I hope you guys have a beautiful rest of the week.